Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. We are welcoming Dawn Catalano from Mathnasium. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Thank you for being here. So Mathnasium, it sounds fun. It sounds mathy. So tell us, what is it exactly, Dawn?
Mathnasium is a math-only learning center. It is built off the analogy of a gymnasium. So we work out the mind. And we work from whether you're far behind and out of shape and need to get caught up, or if you just want to maintain or get stronger in math, then that's what we do there.
Is there some physical activity involved there at Mathnasium?
Nope, we're just working out the brain.
Okay, so tell me what the environment looks like when we enter.
It is an open classroom type setting where the kids come in and each students working on their own individual work with the aid of our instructors. So our instructors will be there in a 4-to-1 ratio or below, and they do what we call rotating team teaching. So the instructors are moving about the classroom helping the students do their work.
This sounds like it's way beyond just helping us with our homework.
Oh, yeah. Mathnasium has its own curriculum. We assess every student that comes in and figure out where they are and what their learning opportunities are, and then we develop a learning plan for them. And then they come into our center 2 to 4 times a week and work through that plan with the aid of our instructors. We do offer that homework help, but it's not really the backbone of what we're doing. We are trying to meet every student where they are and build that foundation, take them forward.
Now, is this for somebody that is doing well in math and loves it and would love the extra work, or is it for someone who's doing poorly in math and needs the remedial help, or for both?
Yes.
Okay. That's what you were
all
going to
of
say
the
that.
above. So it does not matter where the student is. We determine that when we assess them, and depending upon what their goal is, we can work with them for a few months, or we can work with them for a few years. So it just totally depends upon the student where they're at. We do the remediation. We meet that student where they're at and fill in the blanks, or we take a student forward if they are willing to excel, if they're not getting a challenge in the classroom, if they're working towards some type of test or competition. We can do any of those things.
Tell me about what additional work then goes along with Mathnasium. Do people also have homework that goes along with Mathnasium, or do they complete everything while they're there during a session?
We do everything in-house. They may not complete that in their session. Wherever they leave off, that's where we pick up the next time they come in. They may be working on several topics at a time when they come in for their hour session, and then when they come back the next time, we just pick up there.
Math seems to be one of those subjects that it can be so enjoyable if you've got the right teacher, or just very, very, very difficult if maybe you don't have a teacher that is working in your particular learning style. But math can be fun games like Sudoku. What kinds of activities do you do there?
Well, mostly what we do is work on our materials.
Tell me about your curriculum.
We do, Mathnasium has its very own curriculum, and it's very scaffolded, and and it's oriented towards being conceptual. So we talk about the concept using pictures and diagrams and manipulatives, and then we take the student forward and then take away all of that scaffolding, and they should be able to do whatever it is that they need to do. I forgot the other part of your question.
Like basically tell me about your curriculum and what happens. Let's start here, because that's a great answer. What ages do you do what with the students? What would be age appropriate as you move along the Mathnasium curriculum?
Well, we would start with somebody as young as kindergarten if they can work independently, because we do offer independent time where the instructor's not sitting one-on-one with that student the entire time, because students need to be able to work independently and not get that learned helplessness.
Right.
So we start out with numerical fluency, doing addition and subtraction facts, and then we take them forward at an age appropriate, grade appropriate level. If the student's behind grade level, we're going to be working where that student is. So if you may have a 5th grader that's working at a 3rd grade level, that's where we're going to start and work with that student. You might have a 5th grader that's working at a 7th grade level, and in that case, that's what we're going to do also. We're not going to be doing curriculum with them that they don't need. We're going to make sure that we know what they understand and then meet them there and take them forward.
You might have a high school student who is taking calculus or trigonometry or something more advanced, and the parents did not. Can this maybe come in handy as far as helping that student along?
Yeah, our standard curriculum goes through pre-calculus, but we can offer some calculus one-on-one private sessions if that's where the student is at, most definitely.
So they can do private sessions to just help them with what they're being asked to do.
We do
at
that with
school.
students that are working at a level beyond our curriculum, like
Right.
with calculus students, or if a student is working at or above grade level. We don't do the private sessions with students that are struggling or behind grade level at all.
Common Core is something that has come into the lives of a lot of people, and there's still some misunderstanding about exactly what it is. How does what you're teaching at Mathnasium, your curriculum, go along with the story problems of Common Core?
Common Core is just a set of standards. So the various curriculums that arise from Common Core comes from the publishing companies of the textbooks.
Is that right?
So that's why you might see Common Core being taught differently in different schools.
Mm-hmm.
But the set of standards of Common Core is very straightforward, and it is designed to teach students math from a conceptual standpoint, which is what Mathnasium has always done. So they do align fairly well. We are really big on word problems and real life situations to apply the math to, along with teaching the various algorithms of how to do the computation.
So some things you just have to learn.
Yep.
Some things you just have to memorize, and then some things you can figure out. I'll say, for an example, last night my husband said, how do I figure out it was miles per hour. So how do I figure out the speed? If I know how far we're going and how long it took to get there. And I was able to think, well, wait, I think you're talking about miles per hour. So you probably take the distance, the miles, and divide it by the time, the hour, and you got your speed. And he said, by gum, that's exactly right, because I think he Googled it.
Yes,
I think I
get your average speed like that.
I think I
exactly right.
shocked him by just talking myself through it. Are there some people, obviously my point being, we are not math-oriented in our home. Are there some people who really have more difficulty with math than others? Are our brains made differently? You will hear some people say, I just don't get math. I avoid math at all cost. Can everybody learn math?
Everybody can learn math. Of course, there's going to be some students that are going to have some limitations due to various learning disabilities, but they can still learn the basics, and we can still take them forward as far as we can take them. So everybody does have the ability to learn, and kids don't really hate math. They hate being frustrated by math. And once we take that frustration away, they can learn to love it. I've had many students come through that absolutely hated math when they came in and left with it being their favorite subject.
How about that? Tell me how you went from point A to point B.
We just make it their own. We make it so that they can learn it. We meet them where they are. We work at their own pace. So that self-confidence is something that comes about very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. Before you ever see the academics increase, those kids are going to be more confident because they get the idea that they can do the math.
It boils down to that's what we're talking about, isn't it? When you think of anything.
Sure.
That's why so many kids have a great experience out at recess playing a sport or something, and then sports becomes a confidence builder, except for the child who it's not. And I think we're talking about the same thing here, that math can be a great confidence builder, except for that child that it's not. So what kinds of things do you do to gently help that child learn the way they learn?
Well, we offer within our curriculum, like I was saying earlier, a scaffolding kind of thing. So everything starts out with diagrams and pieces, and they learn those pieces, and then they put those pieces together. You know, when you're doing a story problem, you should always draw it out on paper and say, what's it telling me? What's it asking me? How do I get there from here? And we draw pictures of it on the paper. And once you get them to start, then they can get to the finish. Mm-hmm. What happens is they look at it and they get intimidated and they say, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to begin. And kids learn to dislike story problems. But if we can start with them and step one and take them through. And on the other side of that, we offer all kinds of incentives for the kids. I mean, they get rewarded for every page that they do. They get rewarded when they get 100% on their little quizzes at the end. They get their name up on the board when they do that. They get to purchase things from a rewards cabinet with their cards that they earn. So there are those kinds of extrinsic things for them to work towards. But the biggest part of it is the intrinsic, that they learn that they really can do it.
Are all the children working independently, or is there some group activity, some group working? How does it
During the
structured?
summertime, we incorporate math and logic games into our summer program, so the kids do get chances to work together on those things. But during the school year, it's pretty, what's the word I want? It's very, very structured. So they come in, they get their binder, they sit down, they get to work, and the instructors are moving around and helping each student with their own individual work. So it's not like a classroom situation. It's not a group, they're not peer teaching each other, but each student's working individually, and the instructors are helping them.
You said you go through pre-calc. Do you go through an age? If there's a 65-year-old person who would love to learn pre-calc, can they sign up for Mathnasium?
I have had a 65-year-old student come in. Would they come in to specifically learn pre-calc? No, they would come in and get assessed just like any other student and work at their level. And so if they wanted to be there long enough to go through the pre-calculus curriculum, then we would do that.
So there is no age definition of who the perfect person to attend Mathnasium is.
No, there
It's
isn't.
for all of us.
It is.
It's for the person who's having trouble balancing their checkbook.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do people still do that?
I haven't done that in so long, it's not even funny. But basic budgeting, you have to know addition and subtraction, yes?
Right.
So do you get people with those kinds of basics coming to you?
As adults, usually what we get is somebody that's trying to either go back to school or to pass some sort of test. There's, a test to get into the armed services. There's a test to pass a plumber or electrician exam. There's a test for nursing students. So kind of whatever you want to do as a career, you have to know some math, and there's usually a test to go along with
This
that.
is the place to beef up.
Right.
But don't be embarrassed because you won't be the only adult there.
Well, we don't get a lot of adults in all the time. So, and usually I do my adults like outside of regular hours. They're going to come in earlier when there's not a lot of kids in there. I'm not going to say there's none in there, but not a lot. So usually the adults aren't in there when there's a room full of youngsters. It's happened before, but
what is a room full? About how many people are attending Mathnasium?
it depends on the day and the time. But we have room for up to 20 kids at a time, and our busy days, we usually have about 13, 14 in there at a time.
Remind me again how long Mathnasium has been, we've had it in our community?
In this community in Belden Village, it was opened 9 years ago, and I purchased it 5 years ago.
What was it about this that you thought, that's what I want to do? I want to help people in this area.
I was a science teacher, and I had students that were good math students coming into my science classroom that couldn't apply the mathematics to the science curriculum and were doing very poorly and did not have the time to individually help each student. I had classes. I had a class with 35 kids in it. So you can't work with them individually. And realizing that that's a really difficult thing to do, I happened upon Mathnasium, heard a commercial about it, and thought it was something that I would like to do. Found the Mathnasium down here in Belden Village and asked her if I could come to work for her to see what it was like, and then ended up purchasing the Mathnasium from her. And so from that frustrating situation, I'm now in a situation where I help every kid that walks through the door. So it is very, very rewarding to do that.
Must be. We're visiting with Dawn Catalano from Mathnasium. Going to take a short break. We'll be back after these words. You're listening to Our Community.